All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Walks on Wall Street. Today is April 20th, 2023. It is 4:20. It is about 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time here in New York. Hope you all are well. Apologies, we could not do the live stream last night, but we are back tonight, and I think we're going to try to head all the way down to Washington Square Park. Tonight, we are going to be talking about some key economic news we got out of the housing market. We heard from the National Association of Realtors as they released existing home sales, so we'll talk about that. We are also going to touch on Tesla's earnings. That is right, Tesla reported earnings yesterday after the bell. Hopefully, you all had some time to, if you weren't on the earnings call, hopefully you had some time to look at the deck. You know, not a lot of surprises. I think margin compression was going to be the name of the game for Tesla's earnings, and that's exactly what it turned out to be. You know, Tesla is in this pretty interesting situation, and Elon Musk sort of explained this fairly well. Essentially, with the economic conditions that we're in, with interest rates being historically elevated, that has put a damper on consumer demand for Tesla's products, which is their vehicles. So in order to kickstart demand, they had to start slashing prices. Now, that has worked, but it's sort of a double-edged sword there, because the theory is, what Elon Musk is expecting is that if they slash prices all but temporarily, they'll be able to get more vehicles in customers' driveways and customers' hands. But over the long term, he hopes to make up some of the lost profit margin in software sales and different types of software products that Elon Musk could sell to those consumers. Now, over time, if we just think about this on a relative basis, and we'll talk about this tonight, you know, operating margin is still much, much higher than industry standard. If you look at Tesla's operating margin in Q2, it was about 11.4%. If you compare that to some of the other auto OEMs like Ford, you're looking at a 4% operating margin. But again, margin compression was the name of the game, because if you think about this time last year, operating margin was 19%. So a huge haircut there. Then we'll talk about Goldman Sachs. Yesterday was pretty much the tail end of all of the major investment banks that reported earnings. I do want to touch on Marcus by Goldman Sachs. Now, we'll go into that tonight, but obviously, if you think about a bank like Goldman Sachs, you think pure play investment banking. You really don't think retail exposure there. But Goldman Sachs, over the past couple of years, has really tried to gain market share with the retail consumer. They had to take about a $470 million loss on sales of a part of the Marcus by Goldman Sachs loan portfolio. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the declining investment banking and overall fees. So without further ado, let me go ahead and close up my laptop here. We'll say hello to everybody in the chat, and I'll wish you all a very happy 420. I see Otto is here. Good to see you. Welcome. British Gray, thank you so much for joining us. I see Paula from Argentina. Richard Vogel, Water Blazing. Austin City Limits, good to see everybody. Evan Weeks is here. What's up? Before we head out, I do want to quickly note something. If you look at the S&P 500, I'd like to turn everybody's attention to the date of February 3rd. February 3rd, the S&P 500 closed at 4,181. You fast forward to today, 420, the S&P is running into resistance right around 4,127. You look at the 50-day moving average, right around 4,000. So it seems as if, we've been in this sideways, pattern, this sideways chop for over the course of the year. And unless we really break out over that 4,180 level that we hit back in February, I really think that this market is going to continue to chop around. But I really think you could probably add to positions and get a little bit more risk on if we solidly clear 4188 on volume. But obviously we'll talk about that later. All right, guys, let's head out. Let me just close up shop here. I got to make sure I got my, what's it called? Do I have the key to get back in the office? Yeah, I got it. Cool. Let's head out. I think I got everything. Hey, Paul Greenwell, good to see you. Okay, here we are, guys. We are here at 6th Avenue and West 57th Street. This is New York City's Billionaires Row. We are standing directly across the street from the very famous 157 building. Now, if I point the camera up, the building with the gold top is 220 Central Park South, and then the massive tall skyscraper to the left is Central Park Tower. Now, I'm not sure what they're building here. You guys see it? This is a big construction site. I'm not sure if it's going to be another super tall or another mega tall or what's it going to be, but it looks like construction is really happening fast there. You can see the crane, and the specific plot is right next to the Steinway building, which is 111 West 57th Street. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get another major super tall that goes up right here on Billionaires Row. I'm not too sure what it is. I see Sally, good to see you. Hey, Mac Lover is here. Says, hey, Tom and team. What's up, Charles Hong? Says, hello, Tom from DC. Good to see everybody. Texas is here. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. So, guys, I think we'll kick off the night by briefly talking about Tesla's earnings. I think it was probably the most anticipated earnings report on Wall Street this week, and for good reason, right? If you think about the weighting, and we've talked about this almost to the point of ad nauseum now, but if you think about the weighting in the S&P, it's a market capitalization weighted index. So all of the big trillion-dollar companies, multi-billion-dollar companies make up the majority of the weighting in the S&P, and I think Tesla makes over 4% of the entire S&P 500. So that stock being down 10% today, I think at one point it was down 10%, that is definitely going to move the market materially. Now, it's a lot more of the same, right? I don't think there was any surprises in the earnings report. I think the main topic, and let me know what you guys think, but for me, the main topic was margin compression. And there's a lot of factors that are going into this margin compression, but according to Elon Musk, essentially the game plan and what they want to do is they're willing to sacrifice margin up front in order to try to move a lot more product. Because the theory is, well, if we get product in the consumer's hands, we'll probably make up for it on the back end with additional add-ons, software subscriptions, SaaS subscriptions, and the like. But there's a lot of pushback on Main Street because of this, and I was on Twitter. There was a lot of interesting conversation going back and forth on Twitter about this, especially as it relates to the price cuts, right? Because some people were purchasing Teslas, right, at $46,000 or $56,000. Then the next week, Elon Musk comes out and cuts the price by $10,000, and they feel that they should get a refund or at least refund the difference. So it's making a lot of customers upset. And since the price cuts on these Tesla EVs have been so frequent, it's actually conditioning the consumer to sort of hold back on their purchases, because the thought there is that if Elon Musk and team are just going to continuously cut prices of their vehicles, well, why should I act now and buy when I could probably expect another price cut down the road? So that's definitely impacting revenue as well. However, I do think that's going to be a short-term sort of impasse there. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Have anybody in the chat recently purchased a Tesla, or maybe know a friend or a family member that recently has purchased a Tesla and is sort of in the same boat, right? I mean, a lot of people, especially on Twitter, I mean, you place your order, you put the deposit down, and the next day they cut prices by $10,000. I mean, it definitely doesn't leave a good taste in your mouth for sure. Hey, Gary Carpenter's here. Good to see you, Gary. Welcome. San Miguel is here. Mac Lover says, once Giga Austin and Berlin ramp up, and the mega casting will simplify production, reducing costs. Agreed. Rich B says, good evening, Tom. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Julia M is here. Julia, I got your email. I'm not familiar with the company, but I'm going to do a little bit more research on it for you. Now, I'm trying not to stop at all the main stops that we usually stop at, because I want to try to get down to Washington Square Park or NYU, because we've been really streaming around the Midtown Manhattan area, so hopefully we could stay steadfast and blow all the way down 6th Avenue. And hopefully during this stream we'll be able to make it to Washington Square Park. We'll see. Braden says, what's the weather like? I'm going to be in the city tomorrow. I mean, it was nice today. It was like 68 degrees. I think it's going to be 68 degrees all week. It's true spring weather. It's true spring weather in the city, so. mean, at least thank God for that. That's good news. ATC is here. Perez is 420. Now, did anybody notice, I'm not sure if anybody was on the earnings call, Tesla's earnings call. Again, if you missed it, if you just go to the investor relations page on Tesla, you'll be able to listen to a recording of the webcast. Or, I may have actually programmed it into the Nightbot. So if you type !TSLA, once again, !TSLA in the chat, I actually think I programmed it in the Nightbot. I think, because I was going to stream yesterday, but I got caught up and I was at the office too late and I sort of missed the cue. But let me know if that link works. It either should be the link to the webcast or it should be the link to the investor deck. But to expand on the gross margin compression a little bit, I want to give you guys some comparisons, but let's not all talk about the negatives. Let's talk about some of the highlights and the positives from the earnings report. Now, if you want to talk about profitability for Q1, Tesla did churn a profit, $2.5 billion. I mean, that's really nothing to sneeze at. However, if you think about on a year-over-year change, this quarter last year, as we're standing across the street from the beautiful Hilton flagship hotel, it's actually fully remodeled inside. It's really nice. I wish I could actually take you guys in there. Maybe I'll take you through the... I'll try to give you guys a look in there, actually. Let's try to do that. But if you think about a year-over-year profit decline, this time last year, so Q1 of 2022, Tesla churned out a $3.3 billion profit. So about $1 billion less. But again, for the economic environment that we're in, I think it was okay. But I also think the stock price being down 10% is justified. Now, if you look at it from a technical perspective, if you pull up your Bloomberg terminal or TradingView.com or MarketSmith, whatever type of trading software you use, the stock is in a severe downtrend, what I would like to call a stage 4 decline. And price action is trading well below its 50 and 200-day moving averages. A lot of traffic here on Thursday night. Giving you guys a good shot of the taxi cabs here. Hey, Solo401, what's up, man? Solo, thank God you are here, because assuming I don't get distracted, it's only 54 degrees. It feels actually a lot warmer than that. Probably because the wind's not blowing my face off tonight. But anyway, Solo401, we're probably going to get a pretty good view of the One World Trade Center tonight, because I want to go down to Washington Square Park for 420. I mean, how could you not? But again, what we were talking about is the economic conditions. And I really want to stress this for a moment because, again, if you listen to the webcast, we're right outside MoMA, by the way, in West 53 West 53, one of the buildings on New York City's Billionaires Row. I call it off Billionaires Row technically, but it was a recurring theme on the earnings call of Elon Musk talking about the overall economic environment and how it's been very challenging, specifically as it relates to interest rates. So if you think about it, let's sort of play this scenario through. And again, if you want to follow along while you're looking at the data, here's the Charles Schwab building. If you type !TSLA in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the Q1 investor deck, so you could follow along and look at that. But we've been seeing this recurring trend of Elon and team reducing prices or cutting the cost of their vehicles. Now, he essentially alluded to the real reason why they're doing that. And he walked you through a scenario on the earnings call. And he said that interest rates have gone up more than 100% year over year. So that makes affordability, right? Because I'm using affordability in air quotes because I think it's actually inappropriate to think about what you can afford as the monthly payment, but the vast majority of America does, so I guess we'll talk about it like that. And Elon Musk said the same thing. He's like, many consumers think about affordability as, can they afford the monthly payment, right? Can you afford your monthly payment on your car note? Can you afford your monthly payment on your mortgage and the like? So if you think about that, in 2021, right, even in 2020, interest rates were extremely, extremely low, meaning consumers could technically afford, again, I'm using air quotes, the higher prices of the Tesla EVs because their monthly payments would be low because they're not paying as much in interest. Well, over the course of the last 16 months, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell at the Federal Reserve has taken the Fed funds rate from nearly zero to about 4 3/4. The target range is 4 3/4 to 5%. So that really has an impact on consumers who are not paying cash for their vehicles and taking on debt, right? Going to the bank and getting a loan for their cars. So the way Elon Musk explained it, very, very simple here. As interest rates have gone up, that has crushed demand for our cars because less people can afford the monthly payment. Less people can afford to buy the Tesla. So in order to jumpstart demand, in addition to all the tax credits, the government tax credits and all that, they're having to reduce prices to try to get more product into the consumer's hand. But on the flip side, and again, we sort of talked about this, it's pissing a lot of people off. I mean, excuse my language, but it is. It's getting a lot of people upset, especially people who purchased particular analysts that came on Bloomberg yesterday sort of talking about the earnings call. And he said something that was very thought-provoking and very telling in terms of consumer habits and consumer behavior. The frequency of these price declines, or I should say these price cuts for Tesla, is going to condition and train the consumer to be expecting further price declines, right, or further price cuts. And I think that's going to have an impact on demand because people are going to say, well, why would I buy a Tesla right now if I could wait until next earnings call because Elon Musk and his team are probably going to announce another price cut? Maybe. I don't know. I'll ask you guys because there's probably a lot of Tesla drivers or maybe people that are actually in the market of purchasing vehicles now. Do you think that is going to have a material impact on demand? And if so, how much impact do you think it'll have? Hey, Bill is here. Says, has depreciated the heck out of my Model 3. Good to see you, Bill. Bill, how do you like your Model 3? Thumbs up, thumbs down? David S. says, it's definitely pissing me off. I mean, if you guys go on Twitter, right? I was scrolling through Twitter all night last night, obviously, I mean, earnings and the like. You know, Tesla, it's sort of like a cult. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but there are some Tesla supporters and Tesla owners that are, I mean, yeah, it's like a cult. They're obsessed. But the sentiment, especially, sort of turning a little bit. I don't know how he's going to navigate around 6th Avenue. We'll see if we can get out of the buffer zone now. Hey, Brick Stonewall says, Tom, I would be upset if I paid several $1,000s more and then prices get reduced. I'd want a rebate. Well, Brick Stonewall, a ton of people on Twitter are texting Elon Musk, well, not texting, tweeting Elon Musk that exact complaint. I think we're back, right? Let me know. We usually buffer for whatever reason right outside of 30 Rock. Hey, Keith says Tesla is still developing its mass market car, hoping for 50% lower production costs. Yeah, and it's going to take time. Now, Keith makes a good point, and a lot of people are making good points in the chat, right? So think about it like this. Anytime you have a new piece of technology. Real quick, I want to show you guys News Corporation. So this is 1211 Avenue of the Americas. Now Fox News and News Corporation, I think, had to pay a $577 million settlement in their court case. So, I mean, that's unbelievable. But that is the breaking news out of News Corp. Fox News is right there. Hey, Bill, this is Tom. I bought my Tesla in August of 2022. Sad about price cuts, but I knew the price I was signing up for. Says Bill, yeah, I mean, again, I would be a little bit upset, right? And I think a lot of people are. But at the end of the day, Elon Musk has always been a very, very long-term thinker. And anytime you have price cuts, you're going to upset some people, right? But you're also going to make a lot of people happy, because now, you know, maybe that would coerce some people to actually purchase their Tesla. But I think the point that I was trying to make, and I think it was actually Keith who mentioned it in the chat, guys, just think about it like this, okay? Think about any type of new emerging technology, any type, okay? Does anybody remember the days where a flat screen TV was like $5,000? You know, a flat screen TV, $2,000 to $5,000. Now, I know there's some flat screen TVs that still go for that amount, but those are like the cream of the crop type of TVs. But you can get a 50-inch flat screen TV for like $300 now. The point I'm trying to make is, over time, as consumers come around to purchasing the product and as it hits market at scale, its technology has always proven to be extremely deflationary. Meaning, over time, these products and services actually get significantly less expensive. You know, we're passing 1166 Avenue of the Americas. A major telecom company is actually in this. Their corporate headquarters for New York, T-Mobile. If you think about back in the day, you know, some people were paying, you know, $100, $200, $300 a line for an unlimited plan, right? Or just for like 3 or 4 gigabytes of data. Now you can get unlimited data, unlimited talk, text, and data, pretty much everything, for $30, right? So the good news is that over time, pretty much in any technology that's consumer facing, that consumers use, maybe not on the enterprise grade, to as much of an extent, prices generally come down over time. And for the long term, I think that is going to be a net positive for the American consumer. I wouldn't be surprised within the next 10 years, you know, you're probably going to be able to purchase an EV for under 20 grand, right? A good high quality EV that has a pretty decent range, right? For under 20 grand. I think that's, from what I believe, Elon Musk and many other entrepreneurs out there are shooting for, is to have EVs at mass scale for a very affordable price. And I think it's going to get there. I think it's going to get there over time. Hey, the LT Prod, what's up? Good to see you. Jacqueline is here. Welcome. Kanar Bars is so true. JB says the live stream is blurry. Let me see. Can you guys confirm if it's in 1080p? I did have to reset a lot of my settings, so I do apologize. Bill says solar down 94% in cost since '89. Much the same for batteries. This tech will evolve. Bill, I 100% agree with you. Now, Bill, since you have a Tesla, I'm assuming that you were on the earnings call. You know what actually intrigued me the most? But check this out, guys, before we talk about that. Look at this. This is the top of One Vanderbilt, lit up in red, white, and blue. Unbelievably gorgeous out tonight for 420. Fantastic. Miss G says, good evening, Tom. Nice evening for a walk. Thank you so much. Now, did anybody catch what Elon Musk was talking about as it relates to the rare earths and precious metals that go into making all of the batteries for these EVs, specifically regarding lithium? And it's so funny this came up on the earnings call. Well, not really. I mean, it's kind of obvious. But we've been talking about this and hammering on this to the point of ad nauseum on the live stream, have we not? We've been talking about cobalt. We've been talking about lithium. All of the different raw materials, the precious metals, the rare earths that we're going to need if we want to hit the government's targets for EV production going into 2030. And one of the things that Elon Musk said, he said the good news is that the price of lithium is coming down significantly. It is. But he was begging and pleading for people to go into the business of lithium mining and refining because there's just not enough. He's like, we would buy it. He's like, look, if anybody goes into the business of lithium mining and refining these rare earths and precious metals, he's like, you'll have a customer. I mean, we're going to need a lot of it and we're going to buy a lot. He's like, the problem is nobody's doing it. He's like, a lot of entrepreneurs nowadays, to sort of paraphrase Elon, he said they're going to work to make the next, photo sharing app or the next software. He's like, we need actual raw materials. We need the hardware if we're actually going to make this a reality. Let me cross here. Right now, we're coming up on Bank of America Tower. We sort of talked about Bank of America's earnings already. One of the things I love about Bank of America Tower is that it has probably the best view of the Empire State Building in the entire city, right on the corner of 6th Avenue and 42nd Street. Hey, Jenny Trickett says, what about Naomi Prinz says there is a new battery that is liquid and not even close to the price for lithium batteries. I didn't hear that. Hey, Ryan Beck is here. What's up, Ryan? Good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Username says the price reduction in EVs will be at the expense of government subsidy. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, speaking about government subsidy, oh, I think we're right in the middle of a movie shoot. Oh my God. I think we may be in that, by the way. I think we accidentally got in that shoot. They'll probably have to do that take again. Anyway, guys, speaking about, well, I guess I'll just give you the rest of the information on Tesla. Now, I thought it was really interesting. The average sales price for Q1 of this year came in right at $46,000. And the average sales price in Q1 of 2022 was $52,000. So that's a $5,000 difference. Now, if I had to bet, I think that's probably going to go down again, probably another $5,000 to $6,000 over the next year. We'll let the FDNY go past. We'll cross this way. You know, I feel like I've been seeing a lot more FDNY and emergency vehicles, especially over the past 2 days. Perhaps it's because of the really horrible tragedy that happened in Lower Manhattan with the parking garage collapse. Really horrible. Hey, GGMYC, good to see you. Welcome. NAV0407 says, I suspect lithium will be gone from batteries by 2030. Interesting. Hey, Enrique says, hey, I was in New York City a year ago. What an amazing city. Greetings from Chile. Well, hopefully you come back soon. And I'm glad that you enjoyed your trip. Thank you so much for coming and enjoying our great city. Now, we said this at the beginning of the live stream, but I think it's important to repeat it again now that we have some more viewers in the chat here. Because, again, as I'll repeat, Tesla commands a really, really I should say premium valuation. Speaking of Tesla, there's one right there. Tesla commands a premium valuation over its competitors, right? You think of all of the other auto OEMs. You think of GM, you think of Ford, pretty much you name it. Now, a lot of the equity research analysts and big PMs on Wall Street that have been really bullish this stock for the past decade, one of the things that they say is the main reason, you know what, maybe we'll go into Bryant Park. We haven't been in here in a long time. We're making good time tonight, so we might as well just do a lap around Bryant Park. Now, again, one of the reasons why they say it commands a premium valuation as opposed to, a traditional auto OEM is because of the fantastic and phenomenal operating margin that Tesla has been very successful in commanding. Now, here's the problem. As we're looking at the beautiful Bryant Park fountain overlooking the lawn and the Steven Schwarzman building. Now, here's the problem, okay? Let's rewind to Q1 of 2022. Tesla's operating margin was about 19.2%, which was actually down from the mid-20s. And yesterday, Elon Musk reports that operating margin fell more than analysts expected, all the way down to 11.4%. So if you remember from Tuesday night's live stream, I said the number one thing we need to watch out for in this earnings report is margin compression and margin erosion. And I think we got much, much more than we'd asked for. However, I think it's also appropriate to keep this in perspective. Okay, and I'd like to sort of go into that because let's just take Ford, for example. Now, I don't know the exact number. Maybe you guys could Google this for us as we're looking at beautiful One Vanderbilt here in Bryant Park. But I believe the operating margin for Ford is right around 4%. And if you take those numbers and you compare them between industry standard at all of the other automakers, right, GM and the like, you're lucky if you get up in the high single digits. So even still, even with all the price cuts, even with the downturn in the economy, even with interest rates increasing at the most aggressive pace that we've seen since the 80s, to still maintain double-digit margins, I think is a win, but I also think it was appropriate for the action we saw on the stock price, which is about minus 10%. I'm not sure where we closed. I'm not sure if we closed a little bit off the lows, but all day throughout trading today, stock was down about 10%. So again, I don't think this is exclusive to Tesla. I think this earnings season was meh, I would say, for a lot of companies, particularly the big investment banks. I should say the pure play banks. On a year-over-year basis, profitability is down. I think at Goldman Sachs, earnings were down about 18% year over year, but that is to be expected. And we'll talk about that tonight as we go into deal flow. Hey, Tug Carter, what's up? Good to see you, my friend. Alex Wise's Ford didn't get EV rebates like Tesla did, though. Alex, what do you think about the new Ford Mustang EV? Thoughts there? I think it's called the Mach, something like that. The Mach-E. Guys, look at how pristine the grass is here. Now, here's an interesting thing about the Bryant Park lawn. So, think about the live stream we used to do around Bryant Park over the winter. This is actually the location of the Bryant Park Winter Village. They take it down during the spring and they actually roll out the sod. I think we saw them do it live last year. They actually take the sod and roll it out. So I think the lawn is going to be closed until May, until the grass settles and sets, and then people will be able to be here. Now, if you're visiting New York, I got to give you a little bit of a tip, because during the summer, this guy right up here, Bank of America, Brian Moynihan and team, sponsor really, really amazing events. There's live music outside. There's live movies. They have like movie nights almost every single night in August, and it's really, really nice. I think tickets are free. It's all sponsored by Bank of America, and you could sit out here on lawn chairs, picnic table, whatever you got to do, and it's actually really nice. So maybe if we're here this summer, I'll be able to show you guys. Hey, 45, what's up? Says I love Bryant Park on a sunny summer day. Can't beat it, my friend. 45, how's the weather where you are in Canada? Hopefully things are thawing out. Hopefully. Charles D says Ford EV is a game changer. Charles D, you know what I saw? I was going to tell you guys, and we got to look for this tonight. And you know what? I think if we're lucky, we'll probably see it. The NYPD, I think, just had their order of the brand new Ford EV vehicles arrive to New York. And I saw one the other day. I forgot to tell you guys, and they look cool. I gotta say. Now, what really originally drew me to Tesla, now the whole live stream is not going to be about Tesla, but I think it's important because, you know, they're one of the largest companies in the S&P 500. They just reported earnings yesterday. But what really drew me to Tesla was the design of their vehicles, right? The design of their cars. They sort of look like spaceships. But let me tell you, I mean, Ford is catching up. I mean, if anybody wants to just Google a picture of sort of what we're talking about, the brand new Ford, I think it's Mach-E Ford Mustang, sort of like crossover type vehicle, actually is really nice. And the NYPD has a couple of them in their fleet. All right, really quick before we leave Bryant Park, everybody, this is the Bryant Park Grill. Hey, Hang with Mark Mom says, I have enjoyed sitting on those stairs eating lunch many, many times. Hang with Mark Mom. What about the Bryant Park Grill? I'm assuming, you know, on all of your years on Wall Street, you've probably had some lunches or dinners here, right? I've been here a couple times. It's all right. I think it's a teeny bit pricey for what it is. Let's just say that. But it's all right. I think it's more of an experience, right? If you've never been to New York before, to be able to sort of have lunch directly behind the gorgeous Stephen Schwarzman building, New York Public Library, you know, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. Tug Carter says, love that grill, great food. Yeah, I think it's all right. I think there's better places in the neighborhood, but, you know, I think for the atmosphere, for the ambiance, it's pretty nice. Hey, Dan Zhang says, I can't believe I'm saying this, but when it comes to the futuristic design of EV, Hyundai actually has the best design. Really? Dan, which, I wish I had access to, I wish I could Google that while we're on. You know what they should put in? You know what YouTube should do as a feature in the live stream? They should allow moderators to post photos in the chat. I think that would be really helpful. I'm trying to think of what Hyundai vehicle you're talking about specifically. I don't know. I would say, all right, we'll take a quick poll and then we'll sort of end our conversation about Tesla. Anybody in the chat here, in terms of design, now we could argue, you know, 0 to 60, I mean, Tesla's going to blow everybody away. It's not even competition. But in terms of design only, who right now has the best design for their EVs out of all of the auto OEMs? I still think it's Tesla. I still think it's Tesla personally. Bill says Hyundai Ioniq 5. Interesting. Let me take a screenshot of that. Photos from around New York, says Tom. The Hyundai 6 does look kind of cool. Well, right when we get off this live stream, I'm going to look it up because I don't think I've ever seen one. Alex Wise is the Porsche, the new Porsche EV. Abyss is Toyota. Austin City Limits is Tesla. I'm surprised that we're getting a lot of diversity in our answers, to be honest. I thought the whole chat would just be Tesla. Eric says none of them. Interesting. Maria May says the Tesla Roadster 2024. Keith says Lucids are beautiful. You know, we see a lot of Lucids when we're down in Miami, do we not? Especially right on the corner of Brickell Avenue there. There's actually a Lucid showroom. For those of you who don't know, those of you who watched the stream before, you've probably seen it a million times. There's a Lucid showroom right in the Brickell City Center. Wow, Wise is not a fan of either. CPQ trainers, says Tesla, have gotten too common now? Maybe. My case is fit and finish on Tesla is terrible. Ford EV all the way. NAV045 says my favorite is the Tesla Model 3 and the Mustang Mach 3. Patricia says walks on Wall Street, Tesla is about to be sued big time for causing the crash that killed those teenagers. Username Schmoozername says Tesla for an EV you can actually buy, Rivian otherwise. All right, let's cross here. Now, here's another, I should say, criticism that I think is a little bit unfair to Elon Musk. Now, if anybody uses Twitter or any sort of other social channel, anytime, and I mean literally anytime, there's a crash, there's an incident where, you know, Tesla's autopilot or, you know, something went a little bit wonky, it's everybody just starts to jump down Tesla's throat and say, see, it'll never work, this sucks, you know, they should be sued, they shouldn't be able to do this. But guys, every single thing, right? If you want to advance a technology, there's going to be growing pains, right? You know, it makes me think of, you know, probably back in the day when the first internal combustion vehicles were coming out with Henry Ford, there was probably lobbying going on from the horse and buggy people saying, you see, these cars are going way too fast, they're destroying the roads, they're scaring the animals, people are getting hit by these cars, we should ban them. And looking back on it, how ridiculous does that seem right now, right? So I think anytime we get those criticisms, I think it's appropriate. I think it's appropriate to keep in perspective. Hold on, let me get away from this guy. We'll cross the street here. I think it's appropriate to keep in mind that anytime you have something new, literally anytime, there's naturally going to be growing pains. And it's very easy to point the finger and say, oh, this sucks. I see we should have banned it. We should sue this and that. You know, I think that's one of the criticisms that may not be warranted in my view. Hey, Sabrina Ferris says, how much is a Tesla these days? Well, if you look at the data from the Q1 earnings report, the average sale price for Q1, I think, was $46,000. Now, that's down about, what, $6,000 from last year? So Q1 2022, the average sales price was about $52,000. This year, with all the price cuts, you have, you know, $46,000. So getting there in terms of affordability. You know, we'll walk down one more avenue just so you guys can see a better view of the Empire. Let's see. Sunshine after rain is like, I wouldn't want a self-driving car. Well, I think that's where all the value is, right? All right, we'll hit on the self-driving car a little bit more because, I mean, guys, there was so much in that earnings call. And you know why I like being on these conference calls, specifically with Tesla? Because it's almost like you're getting an education. So I'm telling you, if you have not listened to the Q1 23 conference call for Tesla, I would highly advise you do so. So Sunshine After Rain made an interesting comment, right? Sunshine After Rain, one of the first viewers, I think the first viewer of the stream, said, I wouldn't want a fully autonomous vehicle. Well, here's the thing. When we're talking about valuation as it relates to a fully autonomous vehicle could potentially be infinite. Now, why would that be? Well, here's what Elon Musk was saying. Hold on, let me get away from this guy. There's a lot of crazies out tonight. Here's what Elon Musk was saying as it relates to a fully autonomous vehicle. He's like, the value of that could potentially be infinite, right? Imagine if you have a Tesla and it actually is fully autonomous, not like what they claim now. You know, Elon says we're probably going to reach full autonomy by next year. I just think that's like a pipe dream. It's just not possible in my view, but who am I to say anything? But if you have a fully autonomous vehicle, your vehicle could be out working for you while you're sleeping, right? Driving people around, acting as a taxi, or just anything. Like, name your use case, right? So what is the value of that? You know, maybe Tesla down the road has some sort of software in their fully autonomous vehicles where when you're not using it, maybe your neighbors could, and they pay some sort of a subscription fee and you get a cut of it, maybe they get a cut of it, who knows? I think it's really infinite, the amount of use cases. Now guys, this is probably one of my favorite views of the Empire State Building, right outside of 1333 Broadway. Hey, Matt Dykes, good to see you. Santos is the fact that Elon Musk attracts a lot of haters for his personality. He does, he definitely does. Fraser McLeod says, hello, Phoenix is currently running driverless cabs. YouTubers took a trip and survived. Yeah, and didn't they, I think it is in Phoenix. Doesn't Domino's Pizza, they don't even have delivery drivers, is that correct? Is that Phoenix or is that, I feel like I'm mixing up the towns or the cities in Arizona. I don't know. It's some major city in Arizona where I think Domino's exclusively has fully autonomous fleets of delivery drivers, which is kind of crazy to think about. Hey, Darren says, I bought a 2024 Mercedes S550. Love the car, don't need an EV. Love that. That's a really nice car, man. Congrats on that. Hey, JM, good to see you. CPQ says, Tom, Miami Beach just launched 2 Tesla SUVs to transport people around the city for free. Wow, I didn't know that. Maybe we'll have to check that out when I'm back in Miami. I didn't know that at all. Thank you so much for saying that. Will says, I think one of the more profound things that Tesla is attempting is building an EV with no rare earth metals. I'm not an engineer, but how will this technology produce EVs that is as good or better? I don't know. I mean, if that's possible, I think that would be that would be a huge net positive for the world. Because here's the unfortunate thing. And again, Elon actually mentioned this on the earnings call. If you think about a lot of these rare earths, precious metals, things like that go into making these EVs, that go into making the batteries, you know, cobalt, lithium. Unfortunately, I think it's the Democratic Republic of the Congo has about 80% of all the cobalt in the world. And, you know, not to get sort of too depressing with it, but there's literally, currently right now, child labor going on in those mines there, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and even reports of slave labor to mine all of these rare earths and precious metals. In addition, also a lot of that stuff comes out of China as well. So if you think about the growing tensions between the United States of America and China, I mean, God forbid China decides to implement some sort of sanction on the United States where they do not export enough rare earths, well, then nobody's going to have any products or services. Now, on the flip side of that, we sort of talked about that a little bit. Oh my God, guys, look at this. Look at that beagle. That's a 10 out of 10 right there. That's the type of dog that I have, but instead of it being a brown beagle, I got the black and the white. Man, that's a good looking dog there. Now, Solo 401, this is for you, my friend. If you look all the way downtown, that is the One World Trade Center. It looks great. But I don't know. I think on the flip side, I think that's actually what is keeping the relationship between the United States and China, at least some sort of a working relationship, and keeping us away from a full-on hot war, is because each major economy is sort of interdependent on the other, if you ask me. But so I guess it's a blessing and a curse. NAV047 says China produces 80% of the rare earth magnets in the world. Yeah, I mean, NAV, you make a good point. We were talking about this on Monday. There was a really good article, and I'll plug the article one more time for all of you guys. Real quick, before we head to Washington Square Park, we're right here on West 34th Street, 6th Avenue, looking at the Macy's, the world's largest department store, I believe. Now, if you guys have not read the cover story of this week's Investors Business Daily, I would highly, highly advise you do that. It gives a full breakdown on the relationship and the ongoing trade war between the United States, China, and Russia as it relates to all of the rare earths, the precious metals. It touches on the semiconductor fabs and the manufacturing capacity that is now coming onshore to the United States, finally. I think that's actually one of the good things that the Biden administration decided to do, is to start to reshore our supply chains, sort of break away from the globalization that we've been cast into over the last couple of years. I mean, he who controls all of the semiconductor manufacturing, and not just the manufacturing, guys, but the design too. If you think about some of the sanctions we've put in place on China, you know, some of these major companies like Nvidia are not even allowed to do business with some of the Chinese companies and sell this particular software where they design these chips. So definitely check that out. Hey, Lee says buying an EV today is like buying an 8-track tape. It's outdated technology. Check out Nano Flow Cell. Let me take a screenshot of that, Lee. Good to see you, by the way. Yeah, Paul's like, New York in mid-April is awesome. It really is. It's a gorgeous day. We are now passing by Koreatown. It's one of my favorite spots in all of New York. I think we're making good time. I think we're about an hour into the stream. The goal is to get down to NYU, okay? That's the goal. So hopefully we'll do that. We'll be able to do that. Usually I get distracted every 2 blocks, but I'm doing my best to get down there. Hey, Vonda Howard, good to see you. Welcome. Steve, what's up? Deborah asks, it is said how 95% of women globally are underrepresented equally in business. Yeah, I would agree. That's horrible. I think in the United States things are moving in the right direction though, which is a positive, right? Now, I quickly want to sort of change up the topic here because I want to make sure we hit on everything. We had a good discussion about Tesla, right? Big earnings report. Just to sort of wrap that up, for those of you who just joined, if you're talking about profitability, Q1 profit came in at $2.5 billion. That is down year over year from Q1 of 2022, coming in at $3.3 billion. And then obviously you have the margin compression. But the biggest news, in my view, everybody, for today was the National Association of Realtors as they released their existing home sales. That's right, existing home sales data came out today. We'll do a deep dive in relation to that and talk about it. But first, check this out. I'm so excited to show you guys this. This is West 30th Street and Broadway, but look what we have here, the new Virgin Hotel that just opened. I think Richard Branson was here like 2 weeks ago. I think maybe Photos from Around New York has the exact scoop on that, but this is the brand new Virgin Hotel in New York City. It's located on Broadway and West 30th Street. You can sort of see the really cool sky lobby. I think there's a restaurant in there, some really cool dining, a really, really cool bar. And Richard Branson was actually here, I think it was about a month ago now, for the grand opening, which is kind of cool. From the looks of the advertisement, maybe there's a pool there. Let's see. Let's try to move around this truck. I think there is. I think there's actually a pool. You guys see it? Well, this is the picture of it, but I'm assuming the pool is on the sky deck. Hey, JM, thank you so much for your very kind $10 donation. Very much appreciated. Thank you for your support. Thank you so much. Line sinks. I don't know, CPQ, I've actually never heard of that company that's now sponsoring the FTX Arena. Brian says, Tom, how old is your dog? Oh my God, my dog is really old. And actually my dog, I think his birthday's coming up. May 18th, I believe. I think it's, how can I forget? I think it's May 18th. It's about a week away from mine. So May 18th, yeah, dog's getting old, man. I think it's going to be 10 years old, if you could believe that. Where does the time go? I have a beagle, and I remember when I first got my dog, it was so small, and I'm serious about this. It was so small, you could literally pick it up with one hand. You could hold it in the palm of your hand. I got some pictures. It's, time flies, guys. Time really flies. But still going strong. Dog's still going strong. It's old. The dog's old, but, you know, still kicking, which is the good thing. Which is the good thing. But if you guys want to follow along as we talk about the existing home sales report, if you type !NAR. So once again, !NAR in the chat, which is the acronym for National Association of Realtors. It'll drop the link to the March existing home sales report. Here's the Ritz-Carlton hotel that just opened. This is one of the newest Ritz-Carltons in the city. And I think it also doubles as residences as well. Right here on the corner of Broadway and West 28th Street. Ritz-Carlton, really, really nice. But existing home sales actually declined in March, guys. It declined 2.4% on a month-over-month basis. And on a year-over-year basis, existing home sales declined 22% year-over-year. Now, that is to be expected, but I will tell you, if you remember my prediction from 2 days ago, I actually thought existing home sales were going to be higher on a month-over-month basis, obviously, for this month, but I was actually wrong. Existing home sales declined nationally 2.4% in March to a seasonally adjusted rate of 4.44 million homes sold, obviously at the rate that they're selling right now. But you know what's more interesting than just the headline number? It's sort of the bifurcation in the data. So once again, I think as we talk about this, it's going to be super important that you guys are looking at this visually. So once again, as we're passing the Smith restaurant here, which there's actually another location at Lincoln Center. It's really good. Another one, if you're going to see a show or something up near Lincoln Center at 66th Street, you could eat at the Smith. And it looks like they just paved all of the roads here too. It looks nice. If you type !NAR in the chat, it'll drop the link to the report, the National Association of Realtors Existing Home Sales Report. And just as we suspected, everybody, does anybody want to take a guess at the market that actually held up the best out of the main core four? So the main core four is the Northeast, the Midwest, the South, and the West. So if you had to take a guess, right, from everything that we've been reviewing, what's the market that held it the best? This gelato place is always packed. Doesn't matter if it's 20 degrees out and snowing, this place has a line. Hey, Joan K, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're correct, the Northeast. The Northeast. So out of all of the main core four, the Northeast market is actually holding up the best. That is the only market, I should say the sub-market, that actually didn't decline. Sales stayed flat on a month-over-month basis. So if you think about the Northeast, sales were unchanged month-over-month at 520,000 units, but obviously, right, on a year-over-year basis, it was down 21.2% in terms of transactions. Now, if you had to guess, does anybody want to take a guess at the median sales price for March in the Northeast? So the median sales price, so the median home, so out of all the homes sold in the Northeast, out of all the 520,000 homes that were sold in the Northeast in March, does anybody know what the median price was? Does anybody want to take a guess? And as we have the light, let me actually put some pep in my step. And here we are. Well, not yet. This is Madison Square Park. We haven't been to Madison Square Park in a long, long time. Hey, Penelope, what's up? Hey, Tug Carter says 525. Austin City Limits is 485K. Close. DM's is 375K. DM's the closest so far. DM, good to see you, by the way. God bless you. Harry says 420. Abdullah says 450. Well, I'll tell you guys, I think DM was the closest out of all of us. But before I tell you guys, look at this. The building right in front of us is the very famous Flatiron building. Now, I guess some guy actually bought this thing, but it turns out he was lying the entire time. He actually never had the money for the deal. So he bid on it, won the bid, and then he couldn't make the down payment of $19 million. He didn't have the money. So I think the next auction for the Flatiron building is going to be at the end of May. So who knows, maybe we'll all chip in a couple $100,000 and we'll buy it ourselves. We'll convert it into the Walks in Wall Street studio, who knows. But the median home price, the median sales price in the Northeast for March was $395,400. It was actually up 1% year over year. So think about that. Out of all of the sort of craziness we've been through, right, with interest rates pretty much moving up 500 basis points as we're talking about the Fed funds rate, home prices in the Northeast on a year-over-year basis still increased 1%. So the Northeast is holding strong. Now, one of the main reasons why I think the Northeast is holding up stronger than the West is because the Northeast has had a delayed response, or I should say a delayed recovery from COVID, when the West had no recovery from COVID at all. Now, if you remember correctly, I'll try to give you guys a shot of these beautiful tulips here. Now, if you remember correctly, the South took off like a bat out of hell. I mean, prices were gangbusters. Everybody was moving from California, from New York, from Connecticut during the pandemic, down to Southern Florida, to the Carolinas. So the South performed really, really well. They had a really strong recovery from COVID, and they had it immediately. Okay, so you're starting to see that recovery cool, but I think the recovery in the Northeast has not yet happened, but I think it's coming, and I think it's a delayed recovery. So I posted a poll on my Twitter page. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, if you're not following me already, I That's a good platform where we can interact with each other while we're not streaming. I posted a poll, and I said over the next 5 years, I posted a couple cities, and I said, what do you think is going to have the best price appreciation in the next 5 years? And I said New York, Miami, Austin, and San Francisco. And the majority of the respondents were actually Miami, Florida. I disagree, and it may sound crazy that I disagree because I do own property in Miami, Florida, but the reason why I disagree is because it's already had its huge euphoric price run up, right? If anything, hey, what's up? Oh, what's up, man? Good to see you.
Frog Dog.
How are you?
How you doing?
Oh, Krog Dog. What's up, dude?
Stuff, man.
Hey, thanks. Good to see you. Oh, you're watching right now. Dope, man.
There I am. It's
awesome.
Crazy. It felt like a Matrix time loop. What do you say?
I know. That's crazy, man. Hey, it's good to see you, though, dude. You live and work in Manhattan, in the city?
I don't live in Manhattan, but I love Manhattan. Oh, there it is, right there. Oh, yeah.
Awesome, dude. Very cool. Dope.
Cool.
Hey, man, but it's good to meet you, man.
Good to meet you.
Hey, take care. See you around. That was cool. It's good to meet viewers of the stream while we're streaming around. Check out man, look at that color on the Empire State Building. That is an awesome color. Really, really stark green there. But what I was saying is, you know, Miami's already had its recovery. Southern Florida has already had its recovery. New York and some of the other northern states in general, although they've had a decent recovery, they haven't really seen the price appreciation like Florida, like, you know, Georgia, specifically cities like Atlanta. And I actually think that you're going to start to get that. Now, you could argue, okay, it's because of the crime, we're not getting that, the city's dirty, the Northeast is too expensive in general, but I'm betting that's going to change. I think the politics are going to change in the city, not just in New York, but a lot of other major cities in the Northeast. And I think that's going to be the catalyst that will spark what I'm calling part 2 of the recovery, if that makes sense. So we'll see. We'll see. Hey, Beacon, New York is moving from California to the south. Oh, are you really? Interesting. JP says, my man Tom says, peace out. Good to see you, JP. Meld, good to see you, my friend. Steph UH, good to see you. All right, I'll give you guys one more shot of the Empire, and then we got to make our way down to Washington Square Park. I think we're actually going to make it down today, thank God. So let's move on to the Midwest. Now, the Midwest, worse than I expected. I actually thought we were going to get better numbers out of the Midwest, but we didn't. Midwest sales actually declined 5.5% on a month-over-month basis. So a lot more than I expected, to be honest. And 17% or 17.6% on a year-over-year basis. But get this, if you talk about the median sales price, it's less than $300,000. It's no wonder why you've been seeing this crazy migration from places like California, specifically Silicon Valley area, right, where, you know, you're lucky to get a house for like under $1 million, just a normal house. It's no wonder why we've seen this huge migration to the Midwest. I mean, if the median sales price is $273,400, guys, right? So couple that with remote work, and you have what I like to call the magic elixir for migration. Let's say if you were working in Silicon Valley, you're a software engineer, you're selling software, you're making a good 6-figure income, COVID hits, and your boss is like, you know what, you could work from wherever you want, you could work remotely. Well, why would you work out of your little, you know, studio apartment in San Francisco or in New York City that's costing you, you know, $2,500 or $3,000 a month when you could probably buy a house for cash in the Midwest for under $300,000. I mean, I think that's the answer there. Hey, Keith, what's up? Good to see you. Welcome, Keith. Beacon, New York, as I was trying to say, why would anyone move from California to the South? A ton of reasons. Very, very high cost of living, extremely high taxes, depending on which city you live in, lots of crime. So a lot of reasons for sure. Interesting. I'm trying to scan over to some of the comments here. David S. says you're not getting a nice house like that in Minneapolis. So what would a nice house like that go for in Minneapolis? Let's say a regular 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Ryan Royal says lots of people moved to Tennessee from California. Yeah, Tennessee was another one of those submarkets. You know, I like to say I would say the top 3 submarkets where everybody's calling for this new sort of tech boom, I would say is Nashville, Tennessee, Austin, Texas, and Denver. However, I'm not too sure about the staying power of those trends. I think the city that probably has a little bit more staying power in terms of that tech trend is probably Miami, but then again, I'm biased because I own property there. But just from what I'm seeing, I used to work in tech. And from what I see, I think, you know, with the trend of everybody going back to the office. Now, some people say, you know, you're never going to get everybody back 100%. But I think people are trying. You know, if you want to talk about the finance side of the house, I think we had some news out of JP Morgan Chase that all managing directors are to be back in the office 5 days a week. So if you're an MD at JP Morgan Chase and Jamie Dimon wants you in the office 5 days a week, you don't think the managing director is going to push that down and say, okay, all of my associates and all of my analysts have to be in the city and in the office 5 days a week? I mean, if I had to bet on that, I'd say 100%. There's no way your MD is going to go to the office 5 days a week and he's going to let the analysts just slack off at home. It's just not going to happen. Think about Twitter. You know, Elon Musk set a really solid precedent with Twitter to say, look, everybody's coming to the office, and if you don't come to the office, you're pretty much fired. I mean, the guy fired like 80% of the company. So we'll see. Dr. Longus says California, New York aren't business friendly as Texas or Florida is. Yeah, I mean, I think the uniqueness about New York, no matter how kind of crazy high the taxes get here, I think just the demand of people wanting to be in New York itself and just the culture of New York and the educational institutions in New York are always going to keep businesses here. That's sort of my bet. And it's kind of crazy to say, but I think it's true. I think New York has such an iconic brand to the point that no matter how crazy things may get, in terms of no matter how high the taxes may get, you're probably always going to have a huge presence here for finance, for tech, and just entrepreneurs and innovation regardless. I mean, think about the Northeast. Now, what is one of the main catalysts that really drive a lot of the job growth across the United States? It's the position of the best education institutions in the world. If you think about the Northeast, I mean, pretty much every single Ivy League is here. If you want to talk about New York specifically and exclusively, just on the island of Manhattan, I mean, look at all the education infrastructure you have here. Columbia University, NYU, you have the entire CUNY system. Out on Long Island, you have Stony Brook. Upstate New York, you have Cornell University. which is another Ivy League school. So, these institutions, these educational institutions, acts as feeders into the world's best companies, right? And if you've ever been in upper management, look at this, guys. Look at this Red Bull truck. It's almost like a tank. I'm curious. I'm gonna go check it out. But anyway, if you think about, I'm getting distracted by this Red Bull tank. Look at that. Guys, it looks like it's bulletproof, does it? Look at that. That thing is as unique as it gets. Looks like it has 2 doors. That thing is crazy. Hey, Melissa 2087 has just tuned in. Where are we? Well, we're trying to make our way all the way to Washington Square Park. I think we'll be able to do it. Right now we're 14th Street, Union Square. So about I don't know, 15 minutes we'll probably be there. About 10-15 minutes we'll probably be there. I can already smell the weed. It is 4:20. Yeah, Brian's looks like something out of a Mad Max movie. It really does. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these streams about 5 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, between New York City and Miami, discussing the financial markets. Looks like we have a huge crowd over there at 14th Street. If you look really closely, you could actually see the plumes of smoke coming out from the crowds over there. I have a feeling Washington Square Park is probably going to be a little bit crazier. Now, the 2 most crazy days at Washington Square Park, does anybody want to guess? I think you guys are probably going to guess this right off the bat. If you come to Washington Square Park, there's 2 days out of the year where it's always freaking crazy. One of them is today, but I think you guys know the other day. I know Ryan Royals looks like a giant cloud. It really does. We'll check it out for a moment. If it gets too crazy, we'll boogie on out of here. But it seems like there's a lot of people. I could definitely smell it. I think I'm getting a little bit of a contact high too. Yeah, Halloween, you're right. The craziest day is Halloween, by far. Can't even compare. Wow, there's a lot of people here tonight, man. All right, let's check it out. You can see the Union Square Hotel from here too. Steph UH is at a street party. No, I think it's just a celebration for 420. Now, I think one of the reasons why it's really crowded as well, mainly is because I think marijuana sales are legal now in the state of New York. I actually think there's some dispensaries here in Manhattan where you could buy weed legally. Now, I don't smoke weed. I'm not a big fan of it, but I do think it should be legalized, because the theory there with me is if it is legalized and regulated appropriately, it could be a very big tax generator for not only the state government, but in the federal government as well. And then hopefully we could use some of that, some of those tax dollars that are generated from the sales of marijuana to give people a break on either state income tax or property taxes. But I'm sure the government will drop the ball on that, and we'll just wind up paying more taxes on everything. But I think there is a way where if you just tax the sale of marijuana for discretionary use and medical purposes, it could potentially save consumers, or I should say taxpayers, not consumers, a lot of money down the line. Looks like the NYPD is all decked out in riot gear too. Wow. They have the zip tie, what are they called? The zip tie handcuffs. That's the word I was looking for. Zip tie handcuffs. It doesn't look too crazy though. I think it'll be all right. Everything looks peaceful. Everybody's just having a good time. But team, I'm staying steadfast. We are going to Washington Square Park. Okay, I'm not going to get distracted. Hey, PJL, says Tom, I just got back from Thailand where they made it legal. And I'll tell you what, it was pretty crazy. Interesting. Yeah, I don't smoke. I don't do any of that. But look, I mean, who am I to tell anybody else what to do? I mean, it's a free country. So long as it's regulated. Now, here's the other thing. But before that, guys, look at this. You know, maybe the Empire State Building is lit up in green for 420, right? Would that make sense? It's green for weed, maybe? Who knows? I know Bill's like, where's the food trucks? It should be flooded. It's true. Now, here's another reason why I'm in support of legalizing and regulating the full process of marijuana growth and sales. And I'll tell you why. Because this will essentially defund all of the criminal cartel, or I should say the criminal cartels all over the world, especially the ones who have a stronghold in Mexico. Because the illegal drug trade is what keeps the cartels in business. But if it's legal and it's well regulated by the government, it sort of removes all of the, it just removes the illegal business model. So if you can grow it in the United States, sell it in the United States, where it's regulated by the FDA, not only will it generate more tax revenue, but the weed will be safe. Because there's a lot of weed that is sold on the street that is laced with other drugs, fentanyl, other nonsense. But if it has to be held to federal and state standards, well then you know 100% that you're going to get what you're paying for, which is just regular marijuana. Yeah, Dusty Cole, that's true. He's like, exactly, and then we could tax it for education, healthcare, and insurance. You know, I would love to, that's something I would actually spend taxpayer dollars on, is for somebody to do a study, okay, maybe hire KPMG, Deloitte, okay, maybe not Deloitte, maybe hire KPMG, EY, to do a study where if we made marijuana legal in all 50 states and federally, by the way, and we taxed it, could that additional tax income go to fund some sort of free college education at, maybe federally sponsored schools, or maybe just distribute that money to state schools like the CUNY system, the SUNY system, or whatever state systems that are in other states, and maybe that could pay for the education. Who knows? Melissa 2087 says, love the Strand. I love the Strand too. Great bookstore. Now this is Grace Church. Grace Church is really beautiful. Usually on the live stream we always look at St. Thomas Church and the like, but check this out. Architecture is really beautiful. 214 says they're not that logical. I guess we can only hope, right? Hopefully we can hope. I don't know. I think it'd be a decent idea. We'll see. Eric says the tax dollars from week in Colorado just gets absorbed in the ever-growing budgets. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? The more, and this is how it always goes, the more tax dollars the government brings in, just the more the budgets balloon. You know, I kind of compare it to private colleges, right? Now, that's another major issue in the United States, and we could talk about that ad nauseum. Now, I've always said the reason why college is so expensive in the United States is because of the government. You know, the government is subsidizing all of these student loans, so it pretty much strips any free market and price discovery out of tuition, right? Because if I could just go to a loan office and I automatically get approved in any amount for a loan, and it's subsidized by the government-backed, well, there's no incentive for colleges to reduce prices. If anything, it's an incentive for colleges to increase prices and balloon their administrative budgets. So if you look at the correlation between prices of admission, or I should say tuition, to private colleges, the availability of government-subsidized student loans, and the growth in administrators or admins at these universities, it's literally like a hockey stick chart. So, to your point, you know, usually when the government starts to see more tax dollars roll in, very, very seldom do they save it and try to reduce expenses. They'll just go out and spend it all. It's kind of like that study. Is anybody familiar with this study? I think Harvard Business School did this study as it relates to incomes. And it's something called lifestyle creep. I'm sure all of you are familiar with it. But the theory is that you will always spend in the proportion in which you make. You'll always sort of move up and sort of spend the exact amount in proportion to what you make, right? So if you're making $15,000, you'll live in exactly that lifestyle. But once you make $100,000 a year, you'll live in exactly that lifestyle. And very, very few people actually save a portion of their income. So what I mean is, let's say if you're used to making $15,000 a year, and let's say you get a huge raise or you get a job at a really, really good company, and now you're making $100,000 a year. Almost none of the people in the study opted to save any of the money. They just spent in proportion to their income. And governments are no different. It's a really good point. Yeah, Bill's like, lifestyle creep is lethal. Abdullah is right. Somebody's like, so marijuana is legal now in New York? It is. And there's actually some dispensaries in Manhattan. So you could purchase it totally legally in New York City. All right, let's cross the street here. And the garbage can's really overflowing in New York. We almost are there, almost reached our destination. We'll try to make our way through the mounds and mounds of garbage piled up on the street. Yeah, Bill's like, I would love to know the license costs of the marijuana dispensary in New York. I'm not sure. I don't even know where it is. Does anybody know the exact location of that? I think it's near Delancey, is it not? Hey, Joan K, good to see you. JP says, any advice on how to combat income creep? Tom, experiencing that right now. Just trying to adjust back to my old income habits. So are you talking about lifestyle creep? I mean, income creep is a good thing. I mean, if your income's increasing, that's very, very good. But it's lifestyle creep that really gets you. And the only thing you could really do is just teach yourself how to be disciplined, right? Because think about it like this. This is actually a really good way to think about lifestyle creep. Well, one of the ways I guess you could combat it in a way. So this is what I would do. Let's say if you're on a base salary. Let's say if you have a basic salary of $150,000 and you're used to making $70,000. Well, you're going to have a lot of money coming in your checking account every 2 weeks. What you should do is you should automatically assign yourself 20% tax, right? So 20%, or if you want to be very aggressive about it, just do the math calculation on the difference. So if you're used to getting paid $3,000 every 2 weeks, and now you're getting paid, double that, $6,000 every 2 weeks, set up an auto deductor, an auto withdrawal from your checking account into your brokerage account in that amount. Now, some people may say, oh, but I can't do that because I have bills to pay, I have this to do, that to do. But the reality is this: if the government came to you tomorrow and said, we're implementing a brand new tax, they said, we're implementing a brand new tax, it's 20%, there's nothing you could do about it, you're going to kick, you're going to scream, you're going to complain, but then you're going to pay it, right? There's nothing you could do. It's the same thing in this concept, except the tax man is yourself, and you're doing it to sort of, save money for a rainy day and invest it. So if you can't be disciplined to do it on your own, I would do it by force, by having an auto withdrawal from, let's say, your JP Morgan Chase checking account to, some sort of brokerage, or maybe you have an IRA. Maybe you have like a Roth IRA or IRA. If you're making 150, you probably have an IRA, not a Roth, because you're over the income limit for that. But that's what I would do. That's what I would do. It's all about discipline at the end of the day. And discipline is very tough to build, but over time, if you really learn to be disciplined and build your discipline, I think you'll be fine. I'll give you a quick recommendation for a book. I'm sure many of you have already read this. Oh, look at here. We finally made it to Washington Square Park. And there's a Tesla. Double points. So if you guys want to know how to build habits and build discipline in your life, you got to get this book. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. We'll wait till these guys go. I'm going to be very careful and weary of all the cars in and around Washington Square Park because everybody's probably high. But there's a great book. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you read that book and you actually implement the techniques in that book, you probably won't have anything to worry about, to be honest. Hey, 161 says I used to play chess and smoke there all the time. Yeah, there's a lot of, that's usually on the most northernmost west part of the park, the northwest side, and the southeast side. No, the southwestmost side, where there's the chess and checkered tables. Okay, we finally made it. There's a lot of people here actually too. My eyes are already watering from all of the marijuana smoke. But it's nice to see everybody out. It's a nice night, it's like 56 degrees. It smells very, very strong, but it's a little dirty, or a lot dirty. It's almost to the level of Halloween. But it's nice. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as everybody cleans up after themselves after this, I think it'll be nice. Look at these two black labs here. My uncle used to have a black lab called Ray Charles, named after one of the best musicians of all time. This is the very famous arch here at Washington Square Park. Hey, Yogi's here. What's up? Hey, SoCal Lawrence. Good to see you, man. Hang with Mark Moms as if you lived and survived on $37K. You keep doing that even though your income has risen over $100,000. Keep doing that until you're financially independent. Yeah, 100%. And I mean, the thing is, especially if you're in your early 20s, if you just torture yourself, and I'm being a little bit facetious there, but if you honestly just put yourself through hell from 20 years old through 25, and you never spend any money, and you're making 150 or 200 or $250,000, which is very possible, especially in a city like New York, and you just save everything and invest it for 5 years, by the time you turn 25, you are going to be very well off, right? I mean, you're still going to have to work, but you're going to have a lot of money saved up, and it's the same exact thing when you're 25 from when you're 20. You do the same exact things, you have the same exact friends, you're still young, so I would just delay the instant gratification as much as possible. Oh, they finally turned the fountain on too. Hey, Al Berg, what's up? Al Berg says, any thoughts on Bitcoin? Yeah, I think Bitcoin's trading above its 250-day moving average. I think we're just trading a hair below 30,000. And gold is doing really well, in addition to Bitcoin, if you want to talk about the physical gold as opposed to the digital gold. I think gold is still sitting over $2,000 an ounce. And I think that's very telling of the times, right? If you think about the specific catalysts as why, or I should say as to why Bitcoin and gold would be performing well, I mean, we pretty much have every single catalyst, right? You have raging inflation. Right now in the United States, the CPI print came in at 5.5%, but look where it came in Britain. It came in over 10% inflation in Britain. So that's a big catalyst for sound money, right? Big catalyst for gold, big catalyst for Bitcoin. In addition to the crazy inflation, you have a banking crisis that we just went through as it relates to Silicon Valley Bank collapsing and going under, and people thinking that they're going to lose all of their money overnight. So I think that's a catalyst and a thesis for sound money. So I think you're seeing fund flows go into precious metals, go into commodities, go into digital gold via Bitcoin. Here's a good view of One World Trade Center. Looks great tonight. I'm glad we came down to Washington Square Park. I haven't been here in a long time. Check out the cherry blossom trees too. You guys probably can't see it too well. But man, these look really beautiful. Look at that. So yeah, I mean, I think you have every single catalyst you need to have good price appreciation in gold, commodities, and Bitcoin. Well, let's cross here, and then we'll go to the NYU sort of college town. Now, at the end of this block, there's actually a really good coffee shop. It's called Irving Farm Coffee Roasters, really good. Now, I will say this, if you're coming to New York and you want to go to Irving Farm, don't go to this one. Now, I know it sounds weird, I just recommended it, but I'm telling you not to go to this one. There's a reason for that. Go to the one on the Upper West Side first, okay? So the one on the Upper West Side is right at 79th Street. So you jump on the 1 train, right? Assuming you're at 34th Street, something like that. Get on the 1 train, get off at 79th Street. It's literally right there. It's a much better location. It's not going to be as crowded, and it's in more of a residential neighborhood, but really good stuff there. Yeah, TK Porsche is a lovely park once cleared of all the trash and the junk. Yeah, it's just going to be a little bit crazy today because of the 420. I'm not sure if you guys can notice, but I mean, my voice is really messed up right now. I can feel it. I think I'm actually losing my voice. I'm really sensitive to cigarette smoke and any type of smoke. So, you know, as we barrel down Union Square and Washington Square Park, you know, that definitely does wonders on me. Yeah, ATC, it was still nice to see the park. It's one of my favorite parks in the entire city, right? I always come here on Halloween just to see it. I always come here on 420 just to see it. It's a good time, it's fun. Ha, Paul, hilarious. This is the chess store with all the unique chess boards.
Who's this bitch?
1965. Yeah, I think I'm gonna pass on that. I think we're making good time. I think we'll have just enough time to get you guys down to Canal Street. It's a really clear night in Manhattan too, so we're gonna have a really good view of One World Trade Center. We'll walk through Soho. A lot of police presence out tonight, if you guys haven't noticed. "161" says it's one of my old spots. Thanks for showing me. No problem. We usually always go there anyway on Halloween and 420. JP says, "Tom, what's the weather like right now in Manhattan?" 55, 56, and clear skies, a little bit breezy. This is another famous place, Carbone. I think it's a little bit overrated though. Probably shouldn't have said it that loud as everybody's eating. But it's just very, very expensive, and I think you can get better Italian food elsewhere, honestly. Hey, we have people watching from India. Thank you so much for being here. We actually had a long discussion about India last night. Very bullish on the Indian economy and GDP growth in India, as well as select Indian equities. One of which being Page Industries has been a stock I've been bullish on. It's an Indian stock, not suggesting to buy it, but Page Industries. Hey, Hang with Mark Mom says, I lived on Canal Street until 8 years old, and then off to Brooklyn. Hey, what? Nice. Which part of Brooklyn did you live in? You know, that was my first choice for college. I wanted to get into Brooklyn College so bad. That was like my first choice. I didn't get in. They denied me, if you can believe that. Austin City Limits is Tom, you need to watch a device that tells you how many steps or miles you've walked. You know, I think it does on my phone, ACL. Now, usually, let me cross here. we got to be hyper vigilant on 420. People are, maybe not everybody, but I would say probably 10% of drivers are probably stoned, unfortunately. I think it does already. I think your iPhone will, if you go in the health app, I'm not sure if you have iOS or Android, but for iPhone users, you don't even need to have an Apple Watch. If you just go into your health app on your phone, it'll tell you how many miles or steps you've walked a day. Now, not to sort of get too much back into the stock talk, but I've always been really bullish on Apple. And mark my words here, I think over the next 5 years, you're going to start to see Apple come out with its pure play medical software platforms to compete with the likes of Epic. Now, that's my prediction. Now, I'm not sure if we have any doctors or nurses or anything like that here, but a lot of hospitals, especially here in New York, that were a lot of my older clients, would use the Epic software for a lot of their, uploading their medical data to the cloud. And I think Apple should get in that business, especially as it relates to primary care and your primary care physician, because if you're constantly wearing an Apple Watch and you're monitoring all of your vitals, Apple could easily create a software that is fully HIPAA compliant for remote patient monitoring and the storage of patients' medical records to the cloud, share that with your primary care physician, and you could probably build out your entire infrastructure. So I think Apple's probably going to do that over the next couple of years. Hey, Matthew Ross, what's up? Since last time I was in New York City, it was in March of last year. I was disappointed to see the Hooters across from Madison Square Garden went out. I don't even remember that being there. I'm trying to think. You know what? I actually think you're freaking right. I think there was. But it was, I think it was 33rd Street between 7th and Broadway, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of glad that's gone. I think that place is a little bit grungy and disgusting. But anyway, I just think it attracts it's just not a good look. And I always remember that block being very dirty. I don't know. Hey, hang with Mark Moms is my son's friend from college. Codes for Epic now. Very nice. Love that. Carlos, this was in front of the Models. Remember that? Models. Oh my God. That was a sporting goods store that's out of business. Did you guys see that rat? It was a big guy. You guys see that? Maybe I didn't get that on video, but it was a big rat. All right, 2 more blocks. You guys saw that? Yeah, Troy Atman. Yeah, that was a big guy too, fast, quick. Definitely quick on his feet for sure. This outdoor dining is completely empty. Everybody's in the park. We'll go down one more, and then that'll take me right where I need to be on the train anyway. Rich Child 9. Yeah, I mean, rats are a thing. I mean, you got to deal with them in New York. It's just something we got to deal with. let's cross here. I think this is that new hotel we were looking at the other day. I think it's called 66 Soho. Yeah, I'm seeing it in the chat. Yeah, so we hired, what's it called? The Rat Czar or something like that? I think he makes like $250,000 a year. He definitely deserves it. Could you imagine the disgusting stuff that you have to deal with? Dealing with the rats in New York? I don't think I would do that for $250,000. This is 519 Broome Street. I think this is a Mexican restaurant. It's supposedly very popular. Never been. All right, everybody, we're about to be at Canal Street. I think I'm going to cut you guys loose here because my voice is shot. My voice is shot. The marijuana smoke is in the air. And it's definitely irritating me. But look, I think we covered a lot. We covered a lot. For those of you who are just joining, we talked about Tesla's earnings. We did a deep dive into Tesla today. I mean, we did a real deep dive into Tesla. We also talked about bank earnings. But tomorrow I actually want to do a deeper dive into some of the bank earnings, specifically Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs had about a $450 million write-down on its loan losses from Marcus by Goldman Sachs, or I should say their loan portfolio from Marcus by Goldman Sachs, as they're trying to break into, or I should say they were trying to break into retail banking. But now David Solomon is, pulling the plug on that, which I think is the right choice to sort of pull the plug. But we'll talk about that perhaps tomorrow. So Paul, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Dr. Longus, David S., Austin City Limits, all of our good moderators. If you guys are new here and if you enjoyed the live stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button if you're new. If you want to connect with us outside of the stream, all you got to do is look in the links in the description. You could sign up for our free investing newsletter. Sign up for our Substack and follow us on Twitter @WalksWallStreet. So Steph UH, thank you so much. David S, Meld, Abdullah, Dusty Cole, British Gray, the LT Prod. Appreciate you. And to the Mighty Bull, have a good night wherever you are, because there's always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. Everybody, have a great Friday. We made it. It's the end of the week. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.